Hey everybody, yesterday Trudeau put out an update with a bunch of new information, but it was over an hour long, so I chopped it down to under 10 minutes for you. Enjoy.
Canada is a big country, and the pandemic is playing out differently in different provinces and territories. That's why I'm asking everyone to keep following the guidelines of their local public health authorities. This is a Team Canada effort. And when you wear a mask, limit your in-person close contacts, and use the free COVID Alert app, you're doing your part.
There have been 201,437 cases of COVID-19 in Canada, including 9,778 deaths. Nationally, there are close to 22,000 active cases across the country. Over the past week, labs across Canada have tested an average of over 75,000 people daily, with a 3.1% testing positive. Yesterday, a total of 3,289 cases were reported nationally, 866 of which were backlogged cases from the weekend, and the remaining over 2,400 were newly identified yesterday, bringing the average daily case count to over 2,370 cases. The number of people experiencing severe illness is also increasing. Over the past 7 days, there were on average over 950 individuals with COVID-19 being treated in Canadian hospitals, including close to 200 in critical care and an average of 22 deaths reported each day.
Unfortunately, all of us are having to make sacrifices of different types, particularly kids, in really difficult situations. Listening to public health officials means that my family will not be going trick-or-treating this year, because in Ottawa and in Ontario, in red zones like Ottawa, they are not encouraging or not recommending trick-or-treating, and therefore we won't be. A friend of mine suggested that maybe we could do an Easter-style treasure hunt for candy throughout the house and yard, and that's something that we're also reflecting on. I think families will be creative in how they respond to giving their kids as fun a holiday as we can, while always listening to public health officials and respecting local guidelines. Since March, we've received almost 800 million pieces of personal protective equipment, masks, gloves, gowns, and face shields to protect frontline workers and Canadians. This month alone, we've distributed over 20 million pieces of PPE to the provinces and territories. And we're continuing to work around the clock to ship even more to the front lines.
Canada has announced major innovations to help companies produce things like PPE and ventilators. What is the federal government doing to help create a made in Canada solution to things like lab equipment, medical grade plastics, and other things that are vital for testing for COVID-19?
We've seen Canadian companies step up since the beginning of this pandemic on manufacturing of PPE, but also on manufacturing of testing equipment. I made a virtual visit to an aerospace company in the Maritimes that actually is using their 3D printer to create swabs for testing. There are things that companies are doing right across the country to innovate, to be creative, and mostly to keep their fellow Canadians safe. And we will continue to work as a government with companies right across the country to ensure that we're creating as many made in Canada solutions as we possibly can, because that's the best way of keeping Canadians safe. During Small Business Week, I want to take a moment to recognize the hard work and perseverance that so many people put in every day, and especially over the last 6 months. Whether you've adapted your menu to make takeout easier or used your 3D printers to manufacture PPE, your resilience and creativity is an inspiration. As a government, our goal is to help you and your employees through this tough time. From the beginning of this crisis, we took immediate and significant action to help Canadian businesses keep their door open and their workers on the job. Recently, I spoke with many small business owners that shared their experience with me.
Today, our government is announcing a new investment of $12 million to help small businesses through the Canada United Small Business Resilience Fund. Canada United Small Business Relief Fund is supporting Canadian businesses with their COVID-19 recovery efforts with grants up to $5,000. These grants will help thousands of small business owners cover the costs of personal protective equipment, make physical modifications to their businesses to meet local health and safety requirements, and enhance their digital or e-commerce capabilities.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. What specific steps did your fisheries minister and her department take in the weeks leading up to the escalation of violence in Nova Scotia?
From the very beginning of the concerns that have been expressed over the past weeks, our ministers, not just the fisheries minister, but Minister of Indigenous Services and Minister of Indigenous Relations, as well as Public Safety, have been engaged in the issue of Indigenous fishery in Nova Scotia, and very aware of questions being raised across the country in coastal communities. We've taken this issue extremely seriously. It is important that we keep Canadians protected and safe as we move forward to respect and uphold rights that have been long recognized for Indigenous fishers. We put forward an exceptional measure for a special committee of Parliament that would have as a mandate to examine all the spending, all the investments we made in Canadians through this COVID crisis. We have rolled out unprecedented measures to support Canadians, to support small businesses, to support families, to support communities right across the country. And we feel that parliamentarians should, in this exceptional time, have an ability to look very carefully at all that spending, and that's why we're proposing this special committee. But it will be up to parliamentarians and the opposition to decide whether they want to make this minority parliament work or whether they've lost confidence in this government's ability to manage this pandemic and continue to govern this country during this crisis. We know that if Parliament determines that they no longer have confidence in the government, in a minority government, in a minority parliament, unfortunately, there would be elections. But we also know nobody wants elections. People want to continue to have their government focused on helping them in their jobs, helping them in this health crisis, and that's what we will continue to concentrate on. We've offered to create a committee that will allow parliamentarians to dig into all COVID spending in these exceptional times. And we hope that opposition parties will decide that they want to make Parliament continue to work for Canadians and not side with the Conservatives who've decided that they no longer have confidence in this government, as Leader O'Toole said this morning. We've seen over the past number of years a rise in concerted efforts around misinformation and disinformation on a broad range of subjects designed to undermine people's confidence in their institutions, in their democracies. Some are foreign actors trying to disrupt successful democracies. Others are people with extremist agendas within our countries trying to weaken people's confidence in our institutions and our democracy. As a government, we need to continue to stand strong, particularly during a public health crisis where the best thing Canadians can do can listen to experts, can listen to doctors, can listen to people who are focused on keeping them safe every single day. Whether it's wearing a mask, whether it's keeping your distance, whether it's getting the COVID Alert app, or whether it's eventually getting vaccinated when we have a successful and safe vaccine. These are things that Canadians need to do that unfortunately there is a tremendous amount of noise and harmful misinformation about on the internet. As we consume increasing amounts and various sources of information online and around us, we need to continue to be attentive to source. We need to continue to be attentive to comparing various reports and looking for trusted sources like Dr. Tam, like regional public health authorities to tell the truth. We need to hold together and resist people who would sow chaos within our communities and our democracy.
So, what did you think about all that? Leave a comment down in the comment box. I post updates on this channel about news that could affect Canadians and their money, so if you're into that, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys next time.